Something the Secretary General for ODM, Edwin Sifuna, said earlier on, and the President himself responded to that conversation. This is what they have said.
I want William Ruto to know that his removal from office is a national priority agenda. It is the only agenda, because his government is totally opposed to everything that this constitution stands for. And I want these people to be bold. Don't be bullied. You don't have to. He wants to push you into a corner where you are discussing markets. Tell Albert Ojwang about markets and roads. In my ranking, removing Ruto is top. It's even higher than getting a second terminal at JKIA or dual-link Malaba to Mombasa. My view about 2027 is that there will be no room for sentiment. The project of removing William Ruto does not allow for sentiment. We will not work with angels. There are no angels. Even Sifuna is not an angel. I have my faults. I'm not a perfect human being. But the national priority project of removing William Ruto does not allow for sentiment.
I hear my brothers and sisters say, let Ruto go, then we will figure out. To me, that sounds like the wash conmanship. One term, Kasongo, Ruto must go, is not enough. Just like those who were there before me, my time will come and I will go.
Alionya, what is your national priority agenda as young people?
Thank you. But Trevor, before that, I would wish to respond to what Kimbi raised about the purpose of young captains. So we did not come here to sell the party per se, but from your first question, you asked which political divide is addressing the issues of young people. And I don't blame my brother. You know, the problems that Kasongo has put on us as young people, we are frustrated that we want to rush into other issues that you had not asked, because you asked us which part of the political divide is trying to address the issues of young people. And that is what we were responding to when we were mentioning the ODM party and the young captains. And let me just take a minute to tell Kenyans what young captains is. Young captains is a faction under the ODM Women League, being led by the current nominated senator, Madam Beth Siengo. And they sat and realized that the ODM Women League is made up of older women, but we still have young women within the party that need a platform, And to correct my brother, because he has said you only join ODM for elections, and then after that, that is it. That is the biggest problem with Kenyans. We need to stop taking political parties as tools for elections only. I will give you two significances of political parties. Political parties are important in policy formulation. Political parties are important in molding and mentoring young leaders. Political parties are also not just for election, There is life after that election for the 5 years. Political parties need to live through their manifesto, And it is important for young people to be in political parties. And Trevor, let me give you a scenario on why I'm defending this. We are 14 million Gen Zs, or rather young people. Imagine if the 14 million of us decided we are joining all political parties, not only ODM. We have Gen Zs who joined the UDA. We have Gen Zs who joined the DCP. We have Gen Zs who joined the Wiper Party. And we decide that we have had corrupt leaders for the longest. We have had leaders we have elected as MCAs and MPs, and they have done nothing on legislation. And we decide that these people do not get party tickets at the primary level. We will have won the battle of 2027 early enough before even we go to the ballot box. And that is the idea, that is the rationale of young captains. And that is why we are here. In ODM, I will give you one example of a person that we are not going to elect again. One, Robert Alai. He was elected as MCA of Kileleshwa. I am not a voter in Kileleshwa, but I have not seen any important...
How can you speak about a place where you don't...
Wait.
That's what
he's been... Wait. And as young captains in ODM, we have identified one lady in Kileleshwa. She has been the nominated MCA, special elect in Nairobi County. She has brought in place policies affecting the ECD education of Nairobi. It is such structures, we need to identify. It is not only ODM. We have bad people in DCP. Do not allow them to get party tickets at primaries. Young people, join those parties. Ensure these bad leaders, someone who has had corrupt cases, someone who has never been on the floor of the house defending policies, someone who voted yes, for the finance bill of last year, that is someone who should not get a party ticket. But if you don't join that political party to ensure that they don't get a party ticket, we will be fighting a losing battle.
Fair point, but do the young people speak in one voice the way you're saying? It's a fair point that if all the 14 million of you young people came together and decided that this is the candidate we are taking to office, you would. But do you speak in the same voice? Because even that joining party itself was a point of contradiction. Young people are saying they are partyless, tribeless, and leaderless. Now you have decided to join a party.
Thank you, Trevor. It is only a fool who cannot change their mind, yeah? We saw what happened to us young people. Gen Zs, we just need to accept that when we fought for the killings, yeah, of our fellow people who were killed, Akina Rex Masai, when we fought for corruption, when we fought against the finance bill that we succeeded, when we ensured that the cabinet was reshuffled, that was a win. But where did we lose? When they wanted people on the table, there was nobody to negotiate for us. First, because we were fearing that if somebody went on the table with Kasongo, as we have seen, definitely they will lose their brain, they will lose their senses. Just like Mbadi has lost his senses, all of a sudden he's saying that we cannot afford free education.
But
that was a...
senses are really telling you the reality.
Wait, we will address that. That is not reality. Trevor, you can't tell me that Kibaki was able to give us free education for 10 good years. Uhuru came on board to give us free education for 10 years, even with the pandemic of COVID, and we were able to learn, me being a beneficiary. Uhuru was able to give us help loans. In as much as they delayed, we had our monies. We were able to pay for our school fees. All of a sudden, someone has come into office for just 2 years, and they're saying they cannot afford to pay for our school fees. And let me tell you, Kasongo should know that the Gen Zs are not his dangerous weapon, yeah? It is the people who are currently in Form 4, the people who are currently in Form 3, the people who are currently in Form 2, and I'm speaking as a teacher. These are the people who are leaving school with a lot of bitterness. These are learners who cannot afford to even buy their own exercise book. Trevor, while I was in school, when you pay your school fees, you used to be given your uniform, and then when your book is filled up, you will always go to the school store and you are replaced. You are given another book. That is not happening nowadays. These are the young people who are going to vote in the next election. He should not even be worried about the Gen Zs. He should be worried more about the Gen Alphas who are in JSS schools. They don't have teachers. Trevor, a learner in JSS is being taught mathematics with a CRE teacher. And the mathematics that is being taught at the CBC level down there, it is the mathematics that should be taught in the 844 system, should be taught at the high school level. That mathematics is being taught at the JSS level, and it is being taught by a CRE teacher who did not do mathematics and did not have passion for mathematics. Okay. What kind of learners are we bringing on board? And you know, these learners, their parents are telling them, during Kibaki's time we used to learn for free. During Kibaki's time we used to have enough teachers, yeah, science teachers teaching science subjects, humanities teachers teaching humanities subjects. Yeah. But right now, these learners are very confused, yeah? Okay. And President should be more worried about them.
Okay. Keno, what are the priority areas? What is the national priority according to young people?
Thank you, Trevor.
Because SG Sifuna says the national priority is removing President William Ruto. Yeah. He says that is not a solution. In fact, it's akin to the wash scandal.
Thank you, Trevor. And sometimes I'm taken aback by the double speak within ODM. And I'll begin by Ms. Alonya here. For purposes, and she's a teacher, so I believe she's teachable. So for purposes of consistency and patriotism, it's important for her to know that even her own party leader, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, calls the president the president. So it's very bad for you to call the president Kasongo when your party leader accepts that he's the president. So perhaps you have to work around that for purposes of patriotic engagement. Number two, Edwin Sifuna is a lawyer. So I would like to borrow from one great lawyer, which I want to believe he associates with, in weighing into what he's trying to say. And this is Thomas Jefferson, who says that governments are instituted by men, deriving its just power from the consent of the governed towards the ends of right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And when governments becomes destructive to this end, it's the responsibility of the people to abolish it or alter it altogether. Sifuna, being a lawyer, should know that abolishing a government is a very unconstitutional process, and especially when you live in a constitutional democracy. So whatever grievances he has, and I believe that's the collective feeling of most Kenyans, this government can only be altered. And alteration of government, according to Jefferson and him, as lawyers will agree, is through the ballot. Through the ballot can only be 3 years from now, 2 years from now, actually. And I think that should not be a controverted issue, speaking like a lawyer like Sifuna is. Number 2, to answer the question of what's the national priority for the country, the national priority agenda, it's only fair again to appreciate the fact that we can only derive this national priority agenda from the 62-year history of this country called Kenya. So we cannot just wake up one day and decide that we want to create a whole different priority agenda for our country. We can only pick it from our scattered hopes, our scattered dreams. And if we are to do this, then we have to appreciate that our national priority agenda has been laid by those who are the stakeholders today, who have observed our political spaces and conversation, who have observed our legal struggles, our economic struggles. And one of them is we need a referendum, as was said on the 7th of 7th by Alonya's party leader, right, Raila Odinga.
So you believe there's a need for a referendum?
I believe there is a need for a referendum.
And what should change?
Exactly. So with the referendum, it could give us a bit of a context of what should change. Today, and I agree, we have a problem that has been precipitated by the pure presidential system of government under President William Ruto. And this pure presidential system, one of the downsides of the pure presidential system of government is there is that tendency to breed a dictator. So William Ruto, by and large, is a dictator, not by choice, not by design, but by the constitutional setup that has been given to him. And this has been the constitutional struggle from the 2018 BBI conversation, from the Okoa Kenya conversation, and actually it said that the 2010 constitution that we have today was a politician's constitution by Alonya's party leader, who thought by that time he was the person who was going to be the president. But the constitution that can work for a multi-ethnic society like Kenya is a pure parliamentary system, which will bring in the idea of separation of powers. And I think that's a very important thing to be considered in the conversation of the referendum. Number 2, we don't have an opposition today. The opposition, Uhuru taught us how to buy opposition by buying Alonya's party leader. Ruto today now has taken opposition out, and it was said even in the NADCO report that actually we have to have an opposition that is domiciled in the Constitution. And I think that is a very important conversation that we should have in this referendum. Okay. Of course, I'm one of the experts from Alonya's party, that's ODM, I think, Mbadi, who said truly this constitution is very expensive, it's unsustainable, it's very bloated. Yeah. And I think these are conversations that we need to delve into. Our multi-ethnicity as a country does not allow a winner take it all. Kikuyus and Kalenjins have dominated the rest of the Kenyan society, and that is because of the winner take it all system of governance that is in the pure presidential system of government. And I think as we're getting to the referendum conversation, I think it's important that these are the things that needs to change.
Need to be addressed. All right. Ivy, what is the national priority according to young people? And I believe you've interacted with them even at the VAR 37, 38. What are their priorities?
First of all, I want to say that one of our commandments as the Viable Alternative Republic is that when the cause is just, conquer we must. So the cause is very just right now. And the national conversation as we speak is that the young people have a deficit. There's a deficit. About 60% of the young people are close to the age of below 25 in the continent. So I believe already this is a youth bulge that is very magnanimous that needs to be addressed. It's a very big demographic of young people that need jobs, they need healthcare, they need affordable housing, they need all these kind of things, and they need to also sit on the table to actually adhere this kind of issues, and they need to address them. So what is the national conversation here, Trevor, with what you're trying to tell me? Is that the national conversation should be how do we involve or how do we input these young people into the system to address these issues? Because this demographic is growing at a very high rate. The human capital in Africa is very extensive. That's why you're seeing companies like the Global Center on Adaptation coming to Africa to set up base here, because they are seeing that the human capital is very huge, and it needs to be tapped into. The young people have different ideologies, different ideas, different kinds of innovations that can actually help the continent to grow. So I believe that there is a need for change. There is a need for progression, but how we drive that progression is what matters. The young people need to be on the table, but how can they be on the table? They need to be organized. They need to be very organized. Yes, as my sister here is trying to come up with the aspect of the young captains, and we also as the Viable Alternative Republic, we also have this platform that all these people can come together and actually sit and say, okay, we have a problem. So how do we solve it? This is the solution. How do we create meritocracy within the system of government? How do we create this referendum, as my brother Keno is saying, to actually be able to actually involve all these multi-ethnic tribes? How do we actually synergize to that every kind of county or every kind of constituency has young leaders that are actually adhering from the top to the bottom? So I believe these are conversations that need to be had, and we need to turn these grievances, this pain, this anger into something that can actually drive the economic country forward. Because I believe that if we are to go into war into this country that we have built so dearly, so Kenyans are very well proud of in different parts of the country, different parts of the continent. We are really praised by how we think and how we actually bring ideas forward. So I believe that we are not in that per se, that we've already been educated towards this level. Most of our young people are very educated. Most of them have degrees, even up until doctorates, but maybe they don't have that capacity. Maybe they don't have the capacity to actually have the jobs to actually drive this conversation. So what do we do? These people need to be on the table to say, okay, there's a problem here. How do we address this? How do we create the solutions? My sister here said that there are these MPs that they're not liking, that are not delivering. So we have to actually come up with a solution that maybe, for example, in the next 2 years, if you're not able to deliver, you should be able to step down. There should be a mandate, maybe a constitutional mandate that can actually say that since you've not been able to deliver for the past 2 years, you should step down, and maybe someone else can be able to take up that position and do something better. So these are the solutions we are trying to come up with, not make so much noise and not be heard. Let's create this noise, but in a kind of conducive manner that can create progress. But because at the end of the day, 2027 is not far from here. Yeah. But before that, what can we do towards that point that can actually change things for us? We need a system that works. We need a system that actually navigates us to be able to even get loans, to be able to make ourselves even have families, this affordable housing. They're all systems that needs to be worked on, but we need to be on the table. And how do we be on the table? We need to be organized and we need to be structured. There needs to be structure. In order for structure to work, that's the only way systems are going to work for us. And this is something the young people need to know. For systems to work, there needs to be structure. So how are we going to form this structure as the young generation of this country? Okay. Those are the questions we need to have.
Letitia, what are the national priorities for you as a young person?
For me, as a young person, my first national priority is Ruto must go, and he must go soon, just as the way our SG said. You know, I've heard my colleagues saying that we should do this, we should do that, but first we must come up with a plan or a structure on what to do first, you see? So my first thing that we should do, my first priority is Ruto to go. But that is in 2027, right? Yeah. So in the next 2 years, that's the only agenda for you? Yeah. Nothing should be fixed in between, nothing. Just focus in 2027. He can even go tomorrow. I'm still talking, yeah? Okay. Yeah. So, and another thing, young people should contribute to the Conclave National Meeting, and the older people to listen to every issue that the young generation is addressing, and we come up with an agreement that benefit both the young people and the older people. So let this meeting not be that we are just doing it for the sake of people to see that there is a meeting between the younger generation and the older generation. We want to come up with a solution that when that meeting is over, we will not be hearing of Gen Zs. We are saying we want this, we want that, we want that, we want we come up with an agreement that benefit everyone in the country. Yeah? Then another thing, young people's priority is they want to be listened to. And that is what our President Ruto is not doing. He's ignoring the fact that there have been people who have been abducted, there are people who have been killed, and he's doing nothing about it. We want a country whereby police officers are there protecting us as we are demonstrating. We don't want a situation whereby police are shooting us and the government is saying nothing about it. That is what is paining us so much as Gen Zs. Another thing is we want young people to be incorporated in those decision-making processes. And I'll go back again to the conclave meeting and thank my party leader, Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, for creating such a platform. Then another very important thing is compensation of those people who lost their loved ones during the protests. Actually, if you take a picture back, these mandamanos, actually they pile because people remember on this date we lost someone. Let's remember that someone. We start another demonstration. Then other people are being killed. So we end up remembering those people who died, and we end up losing more people. So I'm asking Ruto before he goes to kindly compensate those people who lost their lives during the protests.
Okay.
Yeah.
You keep referring to dialogue, and that's the conversation we're going to go to next, whether that should work and what is the structure of it all. Lakini kimbi ni hoja zipi ambazo zinafaa kupewa kipaumbele? Kiswahili ni ngumu.
Ask me in English.
Yes. Oh, you want to read in English?
I thought about priority.
Tulisema tunataka tuongee Kiswahili.
Why are you degrading in the house?
Tulisema tuongee Kiswahili. Anyway, so what are the priorities?
Kitu ya
what are the
kwanza,
national priorities for young people?
Okay, kitu ya kwanza yenye mimi nataka kusema, people are now singing Ruto must go. Go where?
Go.
Okay. Which replacement you want to replace with Ruto? Ruto must go. No problem. He will go. Go where? Who will replace Ruto for now? For now, I want this young generation to accept that Ruto is the sitting president. That is fact. One. Second thing, there was a time Dr. Kurio Court, Third Way Alliance party leader, came up with something that called Punguza Mzigo. Punguza Mzigo was about you people who are ginene, watu wenye wanaishi kwa maisha ya chini. Unaona? Punguza Mzigo ilikuwa kitu yenye ilikuwa kitu yani isaidia wa Kenya wa kawaida. Saa hii unasikia watu wakisema Ruto must go. Ni sawa. Ruto ataenda, time yake itaisha. Na hizi crisis zenye ziko hata saa hii, Ruto aui watu. Ruto is not killing people, but politicians are killing us. You know? People are afraid of truth. That's why these ladies are talking like they are wana defend hiyo movement yao, but hiyo movement yao kwa Mkenya wa kawaida inasaidia nini? You know, I've been in Murang'a, bunge la mwananchi. Mimi, this is the first time even I heard of this Guinea.
Young captains.
But wakati tunataka Kenya iende mbele, ni sisi vijana tushikane. Na kushikana kwetu, kitu ya kwanza ya maana tena ni muhimu. Politician au wakubwa wenye wamekomaa hawawezi taka vijana washikane. Sababu gani? Unapata kama wanachukua kikundi fulani wananunuliwa. You might end up unapata watu wamewekwa kwa hizi vikundi, sijui nini generation. Na ukienda anatoka kwa conference akienda kwa nyumba hata maji ya kukunywa hakuna. Unaona? Yani priority kubwa sana kwa vijana sahi ni venye hii regime yote toke yote. Are you getting me right? hii generation itoke. Hizi vitu zenye wana format sijui ya ngoa, sijui SG, sijui that is like yani ongea yo sorry. Hakuna kitu inaweza kutusaidia naye. Sababu the same people we are voting for.
Yeah.
The same people worked with Moi. They worked with Kibaki. They worked with Uhuru. They are working with Ruto. Tomorrow, you tell me Ruto has gone. But it is not going too soon. Ruto ameenda. Sasa, tumechukua nani tena, tumeweka Moi hajawahi fanya kazi na hiyo regime. Youth, it's our time. Na ili ikue wakati wetu, lazima sisi tushikane, tujue tunataka nini. Unaona? We cannot follow people like sheep and rombo, kondo. Wewe una follow tu vitu ati umefunga macho hivi. Ati ODM, sijui UDA, sijui. That is nonsense, Trevor. It is time for us to change this thing. By changing it, it's not all about maandamano. You know, there are some people who are hiding behind maandamano to get his enemy. Sahi polisi akisikia tu maandamano ni kesho, haezi enda, sababu anakumbuka tu nilikosea Njoro na tuko naye kwa camp, atajificha nyuma ya waandamanaji yani swage. Unaona, maandamano cannot change this thing. Destroying properties cannot change this thing, you know. Then what chenye sisi tunataka vijana wachukue kura. Unaona, mwezi kutuambia ati lazima tu campaign vijana wachukue kura ili regime iende. Ikishaenda, Trevor, siku moja utakuwa MP wa Nyakachi. Unaona, uwezi rule na zile shida zenye zilikuwa zinaendelea kukua hizo shida. Lazima ukuje na your administration. Na kijana, for example, Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore frame ile inchi akaishape. Sasa hao watu wanatengeneza magari zao, yani farming inaendelea vizuri. So akili ya kijana si akili ya mzee ati mimi nipate nitajirike. Mali au kufi nayo.
Okay.
Unawacha bana.
Alright. Interesting. No, Aliona.
Yes.
Dialogue.
Yes.
To the intergenerational national conclave. How should that be structured for the young people to feel that this time their voice has been heard? Because I've spoken to quite a number of them here. And they say there's been a lot of conversations. NADCO, BBI, Punguza Mizigo is one of them that he's talking about. And in all these conversations, they don't see any tangible results. As a teacher yourself, how should this conversation be structured? And how can you get short-term and long-term gains?
In my own honest opinion, the conclave dialogue discussion should only be made up of Gen Zs, millennials, and Gen Alpha. The discussion.
Only.
Because these are the people going on the streets. They need to come on the table and say what is ailing them. It is indeed true that we need the older generation, but in terms of advice, yeah, we tell them we don't have jobs. By the way, I'm a graduate with a first-class honors degree. I don't have a job. How is the government ensuring that me, together with other first-class honors degree holder, they are able to be absorbed in the ministry without tarmacking, yeah? They need to ask a Gen Alpha what is ailing them. Because the other day I heard our SG Sifuna saying that he went to a certain school and the only problem of those children was plaiting their hair. And you can see that these three generations have three different needs. Apart from that, we should have regional representation, because my problems as a Gen Z in Nairobi are not the same problems of a Gen Z in Uasin Gishu, are not the same problems of a Gen Z in Nyanza, Machakos, or any other party. So we need to have representation of regions, representations of generations, and that is Gen Alpha, that is Gen Zs, and the millennials. These are the people who are suffering the most, and they are the majority within our country. Nonetheless, Trevor, we cannot be in conclave dialogue meeting when Murkomen is still the CS of Interior. he must resign, he must step aside, because the things taking us to that table, if at all conclave will come to pass, the things taking us to that table, one is police brutality. How can you discuss police brutality with someone who is ordering people to shoot you? It is not possible. For conclave discussion or dialogue to work, the DIG Langat must step aside, resign, and stop working in the police service. Because we have seen what he did to our brother and our fellow teacher, Ajwang. And that thing, it is what the president is calling wash, yeah? 1 minute, we are saying the DIG is behind this. 1 minute, the DIG is stepping aside. Another minute, the DIG is coming on board. That is really wash, yeah? That person must be behind bars for conclave dialogue to hold waters. For conclave dialogue to hold water, Trevor, the people who lost their lives, their families must be compensated, because these are young people that were the hopes of their parents. They have lost their lives. How are you going to discuss with such a parent on a table when his or her son, the daughter, has died, the person he or she was depending on? So first, the government must compensate these people. And the most requirement for conclave dialogue to occur, Ruto must step aside, because he's our biggest problem. We are suffering in terms of unemployment. The institutions, the education sectors, the principals are even closing schools as early as of today. And when it is not the closing day according to the calendar that was given by the CS of Education, simply because capitation has not reached these schools. So how are we going to discuss the issues of education with a president who is not allowing us to have free education, yeah? How are we going to discuss the issues of health with a CS like Duale, who is not qualified? And let me raise something, yeah? In fact, I would really love to read a quote for Mr. President, so that he understands where we are coming from, yeah? There's a quote from this book by John Maxwell that says, a leader's success can be defined as the maximum utilization of the abilities of those under him. Taking Ruto as an example, as our leader, if you look at the people under him, they are not motivated to perform, yeah, with regards to what is required of them. Simply because he cannot allow them to do that. And do you know why? Because he has employed people in roles that are not qualified. Trevor, if you're a manager and you have been told to hire 5 engineers and you decide to go and look for these engineers from your rural home without doing the due process, and you bring people on board who are not qualified engineers, you will always be micromanaging them, because you are sure they might make a mistake. So you want to micromanage them. You want to always be there. President Ruto does not have a qualified cabinet, and that is why the government cannot function. And for conclave dialogue to happen, these people must step aside. So,
and that's an interesting part. And let me bring in Manuar on this. So, what are the prerequisites for this dialogue? Alionya says that there are preconditions. So, if all those people leave like she wants, then who are you even talking to? And isn't that the subject of the dialogue itself? That this is what we are resolving to as a team, that we have said Trevor must leave, we are putting in Alionya on that desk. Isn't that the way it's supposed to be? Or how should that dialogue be structured?
Yeah. Thank you, Trevor, for that. ODM, and they say as above, so is below, is a very interesting political crime scene. And I'm saying this because on the one hand, ODM know and I know, and all right-thinking Kenyans know that it's a patriotic duty to give a regime legitimacy, popular support. That's the constitutional thing to do. And it's only after that regime has been given its due legitimacy, then now we can engage constitutionally. So I'm saying that because it is indeed very contradictory of Alionya and the ODM cohort here. On the one hand, to accuse the government, in fact calling for its abolishment, and at the same time asking for dialogue. So it's like they're saying, give us anarchy, then we negotiate in anarchy. But that is what we do as ODM. She's saying that there are no competent people in government, for instance, and I'm not a government apologist, I'm just making an observation. But at the same time, she's forgetting that John Mbadi, the CS Treasury, is Raila's finger. Opiyo Wandayi, the CS Energy, is Raila's ear. And Raila himself has said he has sat down and discussed with the statesmen of the day, Uhuru Kenyatta, William Ruto, and they have agreed that indeed what we need as a country today is not who is right, who is wrong, but to look for a collective solution for this experiment in democracy called Kenya. So I believe, and I think ODM, if indeed these two beautiful fair ladies are speaking from ODM's, with ODM's blessings, then they should be trained better next time when they're coming on national TV, because you cannot contradict yourself, contradict your party leader on national TV. I think that's very wrong. So I think, Trevor, the way these dialogue should look like, it's number one, we have to agree we are in a hole as a country. And they say when you're in a hole, you stop digging. So the digging we are doing is one day we are saying Ruto must go. The next day we are saying give us a conclave dialogue. So if Ruto goes and we go to anarchy, let's say the military takes over, worst case scenario. So who will we be talking to? The young people are saying we have no experience. So indeed there is room for mentorship, but they are saying we don't want the mentors on the table. That's contradiction. But I've seen that in ODM again. She's saying, in ODM one day Raila says, I'm not in government, I'm donating my experts. One day Raila says Ruto must go. The next day he says we have a 10-point agenda under NADCO that must be implemented. So I think we need a lot of sobriety. Indeed, all the generations must be included in this dialogue, with the appreciation that there is a divide, of course, generationally, where there are those who have experience, those who are learning, who have the fire in the belly. If you look at economically, the elder generations have the money. Money is the mother's milk of politics. So we cannot say we want to move forward without money. We want those who have the factors of production to guide us accordingly. And all experience also plays a very important role in this conversation. So I think the way this conversation should go, the way this dialogue should go, is with the appreciation that Kenya is for all of us. We have one nation under God. And from there now, I think I'll have to bring in the VAR, what they're saying, viable alternative republic. How should this viable alternative republic look like? And they're calling it 3738. I believe, as she's saying, 37 is Article 37 of the Constitution. We are saying we cannot invoke Article 37 as an end. It's a means to an end. So what is that end? Perhaps it's in Article 38, which says now political cause. We have to be part of a political cause off the streets. And I believe, should we take that approach, the sobriety, we will be able to move forward as a country and get ourselves out of this hole. Thank you.
Okay, interesting. Ivy, so how should this dialogue be structured? How do you envision it? And how have you done it at VAR, at 738?
Actually, it's something that we are actually embarking on. And we believe that it's actually come at a timely time. So we are very proud of the Right Honorable Omolo Odinga for actually bringing it to this, because we realize that that's actually where we are heading as a nation. The young people are aggravated, very angry, very disturbed. Some of them even sometimes don't even go with a meal in a day. Some of them don't even understand how they are supposed to even go about their days. Lack of school fees, lack of what. You have loans left, right, and center, right. Some of you are staying with their parents. They need to move out. So as I said, there's actually lack of resources trickling down from the top going to the bottom. So this seems to be a very enigmatic problem that is happening in the Republic. So as the Viable Alternative Republic, we are actually asking you, what does a Viable Alternative Republic look like to you? What do you envision the Alternative Republic, what do you want Kenya to look like? It's like we're envisioning a new Kenya. We are restructuring a new Kenya, because Kenya has gone through the most, the hips, the downs, the lows, the highs. But now we are trying to say, okay, let's come out of these highs and lows. Let's restructure Kenya into something that will actually govern us and our future generations to come. So this is something that we have been trying to see how it can look like. And for sure, it will need regional representatives. It will need ward representatives. It will need even the top tier representatives. But at the end of the day, as we are forming this representation, it also needs to involve the communities. It needs to involve the local communities. It needs to involve the chief. It also needs to involve the older generation, because they need to say, are these people ready? Are they ready for leadership? Are they ready to actually take the mantle? Are they ready for the mentorship? So these are the things that we are actually saying, that it has to be intergenerational. It just can't be only Gen Zs and millennials. It also has to involve the older generation, because they also need to tell us, okay, we don't think you're ready for this, so how long do you think that we would need some training to be able to come up and take up those roles? Because the truth is, the young people have come of age. The young people have come of age, and the reason that there's so much upload and so much uproar is because these people who have come of age want to lead. But how do they want to lead if there's no systems or structures that actually make them capable for leading? I had my brother kind of talking about the PS of youth, PS Fikirini Jacobs. I believe that he has come of age, and he's really proving that he's now actually delivering by becoming a permanent secretary of the youth affairs. A lot of things are happening in the ministry that we're actually seeing. As we speak right now, the National Youth Council is now going to be having elections, and I believe this is something that the young people need to embark on. So these are the systematic changes that we want to involve ourselves in as a viable alternative republic. We want to move from Article 37, which is the right to picket, to Article 38, to now having the rights to actually understand the democratic processes. How can we envision our democracy? How can we put it together so that we can actually create a Politburo that can actually help our country? And that's why we're saying we need change, but the change needs to be structured in a way that actually envisions the community and envisions these young people to be certified, to be trained, that even as a young person becomes a cabinet secretary, are they vetted? Are they ready for that position? Have they been trained? Are they qualified? Do they have the kind of mindset, the ideologies that this country needs going forward? So it needs to be intergenerational, so that as we are taking the baton from the older generation, they need to be sure that these young people can now take the lead. So the Viable Alternative Republic is actually a platform where we are now telling the young people, give us your solutions. What do you think the Republic of Kenya needs going forward?
Okay.
How do we envision Kenya going forward in the next coming years?
All right. Letitia, there's someone I was sitting with here, and they gave me a different structure. Said that this conversation, if it's going to be a national dialogue, we should have, say, 300 or 500 people from each and every constituency. That's a 290. That's 145,000 people having different conversations in different constituencies, come up with your resolutions, and then a further 100 people brought into the national platform, which now makes 29,000, who will then say, this is the collective resolution. How do you envision this national dialogue?
I agree with you, but first let's remember that the main cause of all this dialogue, it's the Gen Zs. So the Gen Zs should be given the first priority in all those people. Then if you count the numbers, millennials also were a big number during the protest, should be the second people given priority. Then Gen Alpha, because they are the upcoming generation, should also be given that opportunity. And then in each county we have a representative, and also we should not forget the let me call them the older generation, Akina Mama Mboga, those Ndudi people. They also take a higher space on contributing on such issues. And also let's elect other leaders to listen to those issues, because when we are going for protest and Mandamano, me being one of them, we were raising out our issues to the government, but the government did not do anything about it. So we cannot call another dialogue with the same people who did not listen to us when we were out there in the streets. That's why my colleague here was saying we need other people to listen to our voices. Even if it's the military to come in, it's okay with us. There is no problem. And let me correct Keno here. He said that we should be mentored and before being sent here. Actually, ODM has so many youth. So if you see us here, it means that you are capable of doing what you are doing here. And Kimbi, let me answer your question, because I don't know if I got this opportunity. You are saying that Yanginene, we are young captains, you are not Yanginene. we are not paid by anyone. Actually, we formed this ourselves in 2021 to support other young women to join political spaces. We did not form this for political gains or what. And so far, so many young people have gained a lot. So many young people. Yes. So Kimbi, this is not it's not a matter of gaining, being paid by what. I know we are young, but that cannot be our weakness because we are young, we cannot speak. I know you've been there, but that cannot be our weakness. We cannot express ourselves because we are young. We are learning, we are being mentored by the party. Thank you.
All right. Kimbi? How should this dialogue
Thank you very much, Trevor.
Interestingly, even at the Bunge la Wananchi, you tend to have a lot of these conversations.
Yes.
So how should this national dialogue look like?
Thank you, Trevor, very much. The lady is addressing me. And addressed, but I'll address issue of dialogue. There is no need for dialogue. I want to, as Kenyans, when you want to watch hii conversation, kuna watu walikufa 207 juu ya maandamano. Familia wajapata compensation mpaka leo. Dialogue ilikuja ikafanyika. Unaona? Wachache wakafaidika, wengine walipoteza macho. Ukitolewa macho kwa maandamano, compensation gani utafanyiwa ukuwe na macho? Mtoto wako amekufa 207. Kuja ginene wakati Uhuru amechukua, ilikuwa the same dialogue, the same people, the same birds. Wanaenda tu ni nguo wanabadilisha kidogo, wanapaka rangi, wanarudi tu ni unaona. So there is no need of dialogue. Hiyo ni kupora mali ya raia. Hiyo pesa ya dialogue mnaongea sijui 500 people, sijui nini. Ni raia mnapora, yani wanaibia raia. Yani we are the people who employed these people. They are not, we are their bosses. Wakenya, mimi chenye naweza ambia Wakenya, amkeni siku moja mkose kuenda kununua hata mkate. Mufasi Kenya yote. Uchumi pangala. Yes. We are, unajua kuanzia president, uwe ulimchagua ama hukumchagua, unamlipa. Unaona? Mnasema kuna opposition Kenya. Opposition iko. Ile nini opposition? Hiyo pesa ya opposition inaenda kwa opposition. Unaona? Nyinyi mnaongea kuhusu dialogue. Ni sawa. Ginene, kama umewahi patwa na msiba wewe, ukiona mwenzako amepatwa na msiba, au utacheka. Trevor, kama unatembea kwa barabara ukanyage mafi mahali, utakuwa unajua, mguu itakuwa inajua hiyo njia. Hapa eti nitakanyaga nini? Unaona? Ukiuma maembe, na huyu akuja upo, maembe inajua tu meno yenye limuuma kubwa. Unaona? So, kitu ya kwanza, kama ni dialogue, let these people bring the families together from 207. Hizo familia ndio zifanye dialogue. Ya pili, kuna watu walifukuzwa kwa manyumba zao, wakanyang'anywa mashamba kwa maboma zao, mpaka saa hii juu ya post-election violence. Wachache wenye walikuwa hawakufukuzwa ndio dialogue ilifanyika, wakapewa 50,000. 50,000 na uko na shamba eka 5, your livelihood imeisha hivyo. So mimi dialogue haina muhimu juu Kenya, kitu ya kwanza, hakuna democracy. People are talking about freedom. There is no freedom in Kenya. Well, speaking now, people are hiding behind the party. That thing, I hate that thing very much. Because party is an institution yenye inashikana ikitaka kitu. Ikishapata inasambaratika. Kwa mfano, kulikuwa na Rainbow Alliance. Walikuwa nataka presidency. Wakati walienda, ilisambaratika. Ikakuja ikakuwa sijui NASA hao. NASA hao saizi wana NASA government, wamenaswa. Unaona? So there is no need for dialogue. The main problem, we must face our problem, like Kenyans lazima to face shida zetu. Kitu ya kwanza, let us fight for poor governance. Sahi hakuna mahali president anaweza enda, but we must push him to give us whatever we want. Sahi sio sahi ya kustakiana ati yeye huyu amefanya hivi, haitatusaidia. Chenye tunataka Kenya sahi, tunataka proper, yani kule wakikula pesa yetu wakule kwa jaso. Tunasukuma president wakati msara inaingia, hata akienda kujivinjani mahali ana sweat. Na ujue president hata sio mbaya, the circle surrounding the president ndio wambaya zaidi. Unaona, kwa mfano president akiadvaisiwa, unajua president anaandikiwa kitu kwa karatasi, wewe ende sema shoot mguu. Kumaanisha Kenya coming 2020 ifike 2027 tutakuwa viwete hap. Na tutaenda kuvote.
Before I close, I need to bring on board a serious issue. There were people who were invited for internship opportunities for the affordable housing program. They were even given letters. Yeah, there's one person, Masaweja. I hope you will go into it and investigate it. And then all of a sudden, their contract was almost terminated. They were supposed to join the training, the internship on 13th of January this year. And then they received a letter of how will I call it? A termination letter on 9th of January. These are youth who had prepared to enter or to join the internship opportunity or internship cohort 1. And then all of a sudden the other day the government advertised for the same position. I think the person in charge of the housing and affordable housing staff should try to address it, and I'm posing it to you, Trevor, so that you can look into it. I know you have the powers. Now, to my fellow Gen Zs, let us not watch the history of this country. Let us be part of the history. Let us make the history. We made history in 2024. We should not allow that history go down in vain. We need to make another history in 2027. One, by voting out Ruto and ensuring as a country we have the first ever one-term president. And Gen Zs, you need to join political parties. I'm not even urging you to join ODM. Join even if it is UDA that you affiliate yourself to. Join even if it is DCP you affiliate yourself to. We have party primaries that are forthcoming. Please participate, not only as a voter, contest for this post. If you know that the MCA is not working, if you know that the MP vying for that position is not competent, please participate. And to our fellow people who finished school between 2022 and they are finishing up to 2027, please register as a voter and vote in leadership from the MCA level. Let us not only be blindfolded by Ruto must go, and then we elect in a rogue parliament, we elect in a rogue county assemblies to mishandle our issues. And lastly, Trevor, I will be vying for the position of Kitusuru MCA, and I am telling my people that I am coming to make Kitusuru great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Manwar? 30 seconds, closing remarks.
Thank you. I'll address two issues as I close. Number one, fellow young people, there is an opportunity at the National Youth Council. Elections have been called in the next few months. And I believe this is a great opportunity for all the young people across the wards, across the constituencies of Kenya, who want to be part of the change that they wish to see in this country. Secondly, I'll differ with ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna in his assertions that there will be no room for sentiment now or 2027. I think I have to tell him, Mr. Sifuna, there is room for sentiment, and I will borrow from, again, another great lawyer, which I challenge you to check the name and learn from his works. He says, in this age, in this community, like any other community, public sentiment is everything. With it, nothing can fail. Without it, nothing can succeed. Okay. He who molds public sentiment goes deeper than he who enacts statutes and makes judicial pronouncements. And to the young people of Kenya, our sentiment now in 2027 and beyond is that we are one nation under God. We further proclaim that where there is no vision, people perish, and a bad government is better than no government at all. So we intend to create a viable alternative republic that is solution-oriented, that is centered in dialogue and understanding that legitimacy of a country's regime is the beginning point for economic and political prosperity. Thank you so much.
Ivy. 30 seconds, closing remarks.
To my fellow young people, I want to tell you that indeed there always comes a time when things need to be asserted, where things need to actually form a basis of what you want in your life. As the young people, we need to define what are our needs and what are our wants. And your needs, of course, need to supersede your wants. And once we are able to identify these two repercussions, we are able to understand where our country or where us as individuals want to go to. Kenya has gone through a lot from June 25th last year to this year, Sabasaba, to where now we are actually asking ourselves, where are we going as a country? Where are we going as a nation? And I believe it's up to now the young people to actually define, what do you want as a viable alternative republic? Where do you want to see Kenya? And how do you envision Kenya as an alternative republic? What do you want to see changed? What systems do you want to be formed so that by the time you're actually getting to 2027, are we going to have what you want on the table? Are we going to have your needs met? So these are the questions we need to ponder on and actually form structures and systems that actually can be able to show the nation of Kenya as actually what we envision it as. The young people are a heritage in this country. So please, let's embark on what we want the young people to remember us in the continent and in the world. What do Kenyan young people want?
Okay.
Thank you.
Adisha?
I want to urge my fellow youths coming 2027 tujitokeze. Let's vie just the same way we came out during Maandamano. It's the same way we want to see ourselves coming 2027. Let's take those seats. Let's not give these other leaders that opportunity. Let's grab those opportunities. And watu wa Mwiki 2027 itakuwa MCA wenyu Kasarani Mwiki Ward. Thank you.
All right. Kimbi. Closing remarks.
Kitu ya kwanza nasema asante kwa Royal Media Service na Citizen kwa kunipatia hii nafasi. Ni rare sana. May God bless you people. Ya pili, hata mimi nitasimama MCA Lower Savannah lakini sifanyi kampeni. Najua wakati ikifika, wakati mwafaka, Mungu ataleta. Mungu abariki Kenya. Ya kwanza, najua Wakenya tunapitia magumu sana. Matibabu hatuna mzuri, tunapitia magumu sana Wakenya. Lakini Mungu atusaidie, atuhifadhi